Imagine starting life with nothing. No money, no education, not even a pair of shoes, and still ending up building one of the largest companies in the world. It sounds unbelievable, but this is not fiction. This is the true story of a man who refused to accept the limits placed on him. Today, you're about to hear the journey of a boy who had almost nothing, yet created something extraordinary. And this isn't just a business story. It's about resilience. It's about persistence. It's about what happens when someone decides they will not give up, no matter how hard life becomes. And as you listen, something else will happen too. You won't just hear English, you'll experience it. You'll follow a story, feel the emotions, and naturally improve your understanding along the way. So, let's begin. The year is 1915. In a small rural village in what is now North Korea, a boy named Chung Ju-yung is born into a poor farming family. Life is simple, but not easy. The family grows rice, lives in a modest house, and often struggles to have enough food. As the eldest son, Chung carries responsibility from a very young age. By the time he is 7, he's already working in the fields, hauling water, cutting grass for livestock, and helping plant crops. There are no toys, no comfort, and certainly no time to dream. His father believes in one thing: hard work. To him, dreams are useless. A farmer's son should become a farmer. That is the rule. But Chung sees life differently. Even as a child, he begins to wonder, is this all life has to offer? At around 14 years old, he develops a powerful desire to study, to learn, to build a different future. One day, he quietly leaves home and walks a long distance to enroll in a school. But his father finds out. Angry and determined, his father brings him back and shuts down his dream. Dreams don't feed people, he tells him. For many, that would have been the end, but not for Chung. Something inside him refuses to disappear. A few years later, he tries again. This time, he sets his sights on Seoul, the capital city. He believes that somewhere beyond the rice fields, there is a bigger life waiting for him. But there's a problem. He doesn't have enough money for a train ticket. So he does something almost unthinkable. He runs over 120 kilometers on foot, with no guarantee of success, only belief. When he finally arrives in Seoul, exhausted but determined, he finds work at a construction site. The job is tough, long hours, heavy labor, constant pain. His hands bleed, his body aches. But every night, he tells himself something powerful. One day, When Chung Ju-yung launched his small construction business, the world around him was anything but stable. Korea in the 1940s was a country trying to recover from years of hardship. Decades of foreign control had just ended, but freedom didn't immediately bring comfort. The nation was damaged, roads were broken, cities were weak, and systems barely existed. To many people, it looked like a place full of problems, but to Chung, it looked like a place full of opportunity. He believed something simple but powerful. If a country is broken, then someone has to rebuild it. Why not him? In 1946, at around 31 years old, he officially founded his company and named it Hyundai, a word that means modern. Think about that for a moment. A man who grew up barefoot in rice fields with no formal education chose a name that represented the future. From the beginning, his thinking was different. At first, Hyundai handled small construction jobs, repairing roads, fixing structures, taking whatever work was available. But Chung wasn't interested in staying small. While others hesitated, he pushed forward. Most people said, "We're too small for big projects." Chung believed the opposite. "We're small because we don't take big projects." So he began taking risks. He bid for larger contracts. He hired people who knew more than he did.
And instead of sitting behind a desk, he stayed close to the work, visiting construction sites, speaking with workers, inspecting details himself. He wanted everything built strong, because in his mind, he wasn't just building structures, he was building the future. Then came a turning point. In 1950, the Korean War broke out. The country was once again thrown into chaos. Cities were destroyed, families separated, and fear spread everywhere. Many businesses collapsed. Chung did the opposite. He stayed. While others saw destruction,
By the early 1970s, Chung Ju-yung had already helped rebuild a nation. Stretches stretched across the country, bridges connected cities, and massive ships carried goods across oceans. He was respected, trusted, and widely known. But he still wasn't finished. There was one question that kept returning to his mind. Why was South Korea still importing cars? At the time, vehicles came from countries like Japan, the United States, and parts of Europe. Many believed car manufacturing was too complex, something only advanced, wealthy nations could achieve. Chung didn't accept that idea. He believed that if his country could build roads, it could also build the machines that travel on them. So he made another bold move. Hyundai would build cars. His team was shocked. They pointed out the obvious: no experience, no advanced technology, no trained engineers for such a task. Chung's response was simple: then we will learn. This wasn't just a business decision, it was a national vision. To begin, he knew he needed knowledge, so he traveled abroad and connected with experienced engineers. One of them was George Turnbull, a respected figure in the automotive world. Instead of asking for help with weakness, he presented a vision. He didn't want to copy existing cars, he wanted to create something of his own. Turnbull believed in that vision and joined him. Soon, a small team of international experts came to Korea to help build something completely new. But the reality they faced was difficult. There were limited resources, basic facilities, few advanced tools. At times, it seemed unrealistic. Still, Chung never changed his mindset. He encouraged the team, reminding them they weren't just building a product, they were building history. The process was full of challenges. Engines failed, parts didn't fit, designs had to be changed again and again. Materials were hard to source, progress was slow. But every failure became a lesson. Instead of asking, "Why did this go wrong?" Chung would ask, "What can we learn from this?" Years of effort finally led to a breakthrough. In 1975, Hyundai introduced its first car, the Hyundai Pony. It wasn't the most luxurious, it wasn't the fastest, but it represented something far more important. It proved that Korea could build its own future. When the car was revealed, it sparked pride across the country. For many, it wasn't just transportation, it was a symbol of possibility. But success at home was only the beginning. Hyundai wanted to compete globally. When Hyundai entered international markets, many established companies dismissed them. Brands like Toyota, Ford Motor Company, and General Motors didn't take Hyundai seriously. Chung had faced doubt before. This time was no different. Hyundai started small, selling cars in developing markets, then gradually expanding. In 1986, they entered the United States with a model called Hyundai Excel. It was affordable, simple, and efficient, and it worked. In its first year, Hyundai sold over 168,000 cars in the U.S., a record for a new entrant. But success didn't last. As sales increased, problems appeared. Some vehicles had quality issues, customers complained, reviews turned negative. Suddenly, Hyundai's reputation began to fall. Once again, Chung stood at a critical moment. Instead of stepping back, he chose to improve. He made a clear decision. Hyundai would focus on quality, not just affordability. The company redesigned processes, improved materials, strengthened testing, and raised standards across the board. It took time, But slowly, things changed. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Hyundai was no longer seen as a low-cost option. It was becoming known for reliability, smart design, and strong value. Over time, the brand earned global recognition, winning awards, gaining trust, and competing at the highest level. But Chung's impact went beyond cars. Hyundai expanded into construction, steel, shipping, energy, and infrastructure. The company helped build power plants, factories, transportation systems, even advanced industrial projects that shaped the country's future. It also created jobs, supporting hundreds of thousands of families. To Chung, business wasn't just about profit, it was about people. Even in his later years, he remained active, visiting work sites, speaking with employees, and staying connected to the ground level. He never saw himself above others. Deep inside, he was still that young boy who once worked in the fields. In 2001, at the age of 85, Chung Ju-yung passed away. But what he left behind could not be measured in numbers alone. He left behind a mindset, a belief that you don't need perfect conditions to begin, that failure is not the end, it's part of the path, that progress comes from action, not permission. Today, Hyundai operates in over 200 countries, employing hundreds of thousands of people and standing among the world's leading automotive groups, alongside partners like Kia Corporation. But beyond the factories, beyond the cars, beyond the global presence, there is a deeper legacy. The story of a boy who refused to stay small. So if life feels difficult, if progress seems slow, if doubt surrounds you, remember this journey. Because sometimes all it takes to change everything is the decision to keep going. Thanks for being here and listening all the way through. If you want more stories like this, stories that help you learn, grow, and see what's possible, stay with us and keep exploring.